Welcome everyone. Let us see chapter 1 in botany, asexual and sexual reproduction in plants regarding the androecium. So first let's recall the structure of flower. Flower can be defined as a highly condensed shoot meant for reproduction. A flower usually possesses 4 whorls, namely calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Among these 4 whorls, androecium and gynoecium happen to be the essential organs. Essential organs in the sense they play straight away a role in the reproduction, and hence they are called as essential organs. The processes or changes involved in the sexual reproduction of higher plants include 3 stages, namely pre-fertilization changes, fertilization changes and post-fertilization changes. The next is pre-fertilization structure and events. So before fertilization, the hormones and structural changes in a plant lead to the differentiation and development of the floral primordium. So the floral primordium is brought out by the hormonal changes and the structural changes of plants. So the next is said to be male reproductive part, namely the androecium. So androecium is said to be the male part and is usually made up by the stamens. Androecium is made up by the stamens, and each stamen possesses an anther at the tip and a filament, a stalk-like structure, what is called as a filament, and the anther at the top of the filament. Anther bears the pollen grains, which represents the male gametophyte. So inside these anther, you could see quite a large number of, innumerable number of pollen grains, and which are usually known as a male gametophyte. Development of anther. A very young anther develops as a homogeneous mass of cells surrounded by the epidermis. Now here the epidermis is shown. So from the epidermis, the mass of homogeneous cells assembles to form the anther structure. During its development, the anther assumes a 4-lobe structure. So here you could see after the development, it leads to form a 4-lobed structure. In each lobe, a row or a few rows of hypodermal cells becomes enlarged with conspicuous nucleus. So just below the epidermis, it forms a few rows of hypodermal cells beneath the epidermis with enlarged and also with conspicuous nucleus in the center. And this functions as the archisporium. So altogether, the structure is usually called as a archisporium. So the archisporial cells divide by periclinal divisions to form primary parietal cells towards the epidermis. So the cells move parallelly towards the epidermis to form primary parietal cells, and towards the center part of the anther to known as the primary sporogenous cells. So thus they divide to form primary parietal cells towards epidermis and primary sporogenous cells towards the inner side of the anther. And the primary parietal cells undergo series of periclinal and anticlinal division. Periclinal in the sense once when the cells develop parallelly to each other. So in this manner to each other parallelly, then the division is called as periclinal in nature. Whereas in anticlinal division, once when the cells multiply or divides perpendicular to each other, in such a manner if it proceeds, this type of division is called as anticlinal division. Thereby it forms 2 to 5 layers of anther walls composed of endothecium, middle layers, tapetum from periphery to center. So from the peripheral layer to center, they are divided as endothecium, middle layers and tapetum. So the next is microsporogenesis. The stages involved in the formation of haploid microspores from the diploid microspore mother cell through meiosis is called as microsporogenesis. So this question we may get in 2-mark point of view. Define microsporogenesis, which means the stages involved for the formation of the haploid microspores from the diploid microspore mother cells is usually called as microsporogenesis. The primary sporogenous cells directly or may undergo a few mitotic divisions to form the sporogenous tissues. In the center, the sporogenous tissue is shown. So these tissues usually develops by mitotic cell division to form the sporogenous tissues. The last generation of sporogenous tissue functions of microspore mother cells. Now here one microspore mother cell is shown with single nucleus which is diploid in number. This microspore meiotically produces 4 haploid microspores. So this single diploid nucleus undergo meiosis 1 to produce 2 nuclei which is haploid in nature. Later through meiosis 2, these two nuclei divides into 4 haploid microspores. So thus from one microspore, mother cell, we get 4 microspores. So the microspores may be known as tetrad, and they are arranged in uniform, tetrahedral, decussate, linear manner, T-shaped or isobilateral in manner. So microspores soon separate from one another and remain free in anther locules. So they get separated from each other and develops into the pollen grains inside the anther locule. Whereas in some plants, all the microspores in a microsporangium remain held together. Such a condition is called as pollinium. Example, Calotropis, compound pollen grains are found in Drosera and Drimys. So here, inside the anther locule, the microspores are united together. Such a condition is called as a pollinium. So TS of mature anther. So here the mature anther diagrammatically represented. The transverse section of mature anther reveals the presence of anther cavity surrounded by the anther wall. So they have the anther wall and the anther cavity. So it's bilobed, each lobe having two theca or ditheca. So they are bilobed in nature, and so that they are made by two lobes, and hence these are dithecas in nature. A typical anther is a tetrasporangiate in nature. So they have 4 compartments. So thus they form the tetrasporangiate condition. The next is anther wall. The mature anther wall consists of the following layers. Now here diagrammatically the anther wall is shown. So usually they are made by epidermis, endothecium, middle layer and tapetum. So epidermis, endothecium, middle layer as well as the tapetum are said to be the different wall layers of the anther. So first, to begin with the epidermis, it is single layered and protective in function. So the epidermis is uniform with single layer, and they cover the other type of cells. So the cells undergo repeated anticlinal divisions to cope up with the rapid enlarging internal tissues. So these epidermal cells, already as I told earlier, they divide perpendicularly so that anticlinally to produce enormously and covering the internal mass of cells. The next is said to be endothecium. It is generally a single layer of radially elongated cells found below the epidermis. So just beneath this epidermis is said to be the second layer, what is called as a endothecium. And these endothecium are radially elongated cells. They are elongated in a radial manner and found below the epidermis. The inner tangential wall develops bands, sometimes also radially, alpha cellulose, sometimes also slightly they are lignified. So these layers are made by two type of chemicals, namely alpha cellulose and with lignin, and hence they are lignified. So these cells are hygroscopic in nature, which means they tend to absorb moisture from air. So this endothecium is also conditioned by hygroscopic, which means they tend to absorb the moisture from the air. Endothelial differentiation is absent in cases of anthers of certain aquatic plants, saprophytes, cleistogamous flowers, whereas there is no endothelial differentiation. They are uniform in nature. So the cells along with the junctions of two sporangia of an anther lobe lack these thickenings. So here the sporangium as well as it combines with the next sporangium where the endothelium is very thin in nature. Such a region where there is no thickening of the endothelium is called as the stomium. This region, along with the hygroscopic in nature of endothelium, helps in dehiscence of anther at the time of maturity. So in this region where they dehisce by the time of maturity, so through the pollen grains will be liberated. And next is said to be the middle layer. The middle layer is here. The 2 or 3 layers of cells next to the endothelium constitute the middle layer. So here 2 or 3 layers are found together. Such a layer is called as a middle layer. They are generally ephemeral, which means short-lived. They disintegrate or get crushed during the maturity. Hence, they are short-lived. They get easily disintegrated as well as they get crushed during the time of maturity. This layer will get easily ruptured out at the time of maturity. And the last layer is known as the tapetum. So tapetum is said to be the innermost layer of anther wall and attains its maximum development at the tetrad stage of the microsporogenesis. So tapetum is found to be the innermost layer of the anther wall, and their maximum development is attained by once when the microspores are attaining the 4-cell tetrad stage. So it is derived partly from the peripheral wall layer and partly from the connective tissue of the anther lining the anther locule. So that they are usually dual in origin. So they usually derive from peripheral region as well as from the connective tissue, and hence they are called as dual in nature. So either they may be brought from here or from the peripheral region, so that the tapetum is usually called as dual in nature. So the function of this tapetum is it nourishes the developing sporogenous tissue. Here you could see the sporogenous tissue found inside. So the tapetum usually nourishes the sporogenous tissue, microspore, mother cells and microspores. The cells of the tapetum may remain uninucleate or may contain more than one nucleus, or the nucleus may become polyploid. So here the layer of tapetum is shown internally in the anther wall. Sometimes they usually with single nucleus to form uninucleate conditions. Sometimes they may also have multinucleate conditions, or they may have more than one nucleus, and also they may become polyploid in nature. So it also contains certain chemicals known as the wall materials, sporopollenin, pollen kit, tryphin, and a number of proteins that control the incompatibility reactions. And tapetum also controls the fertility as well as sterility of the microspores of the pollen grain. So this is very important. So depending upon the nature of the tapetum, the pollen grains become either fertile or sterile. Based on the behavior, the tapetum may be of two types. They are secretory tapetum and invasive tapetum. So secretory tapetum is also called as parietal tapetum, glandular tapetum and cellular tapetum. So once when the tapetum retains their original position, they do not change their position, so that they are called as secretory tapetum, and also because they are glandular, they are secretory in nature. Such tapetum are known as secretory tapetum, and the cellular integrity and it nourishes the developing microspores. The microspores get nourishment from the type of secretory tapetum. The next type is invasive tapetum, periplasmodial. So they are loosely arranged and they can easily change their shape, so that they are called as invasive tapetum. The cells lose the inner tangential and radial walls, and the protoplast of all the tapetal cell coalesces to form the periplasmodium. The functions of tapetum: it supplies nutrition to the developing microspores. It contributes sporopollenin, which is nothing but a biological polymer seen on the tough outer walls through the Ubish bodies. So Ubish bodies are nothing but the small acellular structures of the sporopollenin. Thus they play a vital role in the pollen wall formation. The pollen kit, which is nothing but the sticky covering found on the surface of the pollen grains. So these materials contribute by the tapetal cells and is later transformed to the pollen surface. Exine protein are responsible for rejection reaction of the stigma present in the cavities of the exine. These proteins are derived from the tapetal cells. The second one is the anther cavity. Now here you could see the anther cavity inside the anthers. The anther cavity is filled with the microspores in young stages or with pollen grains at the maturity. So once when they are young, they are filled by microspores. At the time of maturity, the microspores gets converted into the pollen grains. So the meiotic division of microspore mother cells gives rise to the microspores, which are haploid in nature. And finally the connective, so which connects the both anther lobes, is nothing but the connective tissue. So it is column of sterile tissue surrounded by the anther lobe. It possesses the vascular tissues and it also contributes the inner tapetum. So with that the androecium is getting over. Regarding the other continuity, we'll see in the next videos. Thank you.